Hey, welcome back. You're back at Anything Relevant, and today we are going to talk about that new Dune movie. I'm going to put the trailer in the description. There is a lot to be said. This is the third major attempt to tell this story. And if you've ever walked by it, the novel itself, you'll see that it's a tome. It's a it is a just like Lord of the Rings. It is a thick tome and with a lot going on. And just to give a little background on Dune with Frank Herbert there that wrote it, this guy wrote it and it didn't do well in its release. He had to sit on it for a while, and then he tried to release it again, and it took multiple times for this book to be released into the massive public for it to be appreciated because just like J.R.R. Tolkien, the material is very sophisticated. It's very dense in its storytelling, and when you have that, if you're not a strong reader, it's going to be a hard read. It's going to be a slog. And I say that from personal experience. I tried to read that book multiple times. I have a friend that lent it to me, and at the time, I was not a strong enough reader. I couldn't appreciate it. It was like for me, it was like chewing on wood. I didn't know how to break through that, and I gave up. But before I was shown that book, was it David Lynch did a movie about it in 1984, I believe, with not the most favorable reception because apparently it was like over 4 hours long, and the they couldn't release that, so they had to cut it down. They cut it down to just over 2 hours, and when you do that, you gut it. So years later, they got the kind of the director's cut release. But the thing about David Lynch is that it's his least favorite movie that he's ever directed, and he wishes he never did. And he wanted to have a different ending, and he fixated on one aspect of the story. So this is why the reception wasn't overly warm for the diehard Dune fans out there that had read the book. When you read the book, it's a lot like Game of Thrones in this one aspect. You have different houses. It has this medieval feel, even though it's in the future. In essence, it's also a lot like Star Wars, not Star Trek. Star Wars in the sense that we are in the future, but a lot of the technology is analog. It's direct interaction and not overly sophisticated, just enough to get it done kind of deal. When you see them in their spaceships and you see how the technology works, you'll see what I mean. So there's a lot of nuances to the story. This is why I brought up Game of Thrones. You have all these different houses all vying for power, all using basically the art of war to do it. You have so much political intrigue where one false step, could be your last. It's it's a slow burn with no consequences. Is probably the best way to describe that. As well as that, I know hearing interviews and dissections of Dune, what you would hear if you went across all those videos is that there is a hubris to humanity, and that doesn't matter. It's what he's trying to get at. It's involved in everything, and it explains that expression. Good intentions could lead you to hell, can pave the road to hell. This is a lot of that book. That book is basically saying, even like, what is a hero? That's a good question that book asks, because it'll ask that. It'll display a lot of actions and nature and characteristics of a hero, but with no bias. You'll see that even heroes sow chaos. Even heroes make things worse. So, what is a hero? So, it's a really good question that that book asks. It's a good dissection of geopolitics, international trade, relations, racism, power structure, authoritarianism, oligarchies, all these things. That's why it's so dense and sophisticated. On why I mentioned that earlier is because it's not telling just one story. And on top of all that, you got religious tolerance, religious aspects within your government or outside of your government, but yet still have sway. This book is so ambitious in how much it's talking about, but the thing that's interesting about the book is that it's not trying to overly be preachy, but just show you what it looks like rolling down the hill. This is what politics looks like in real time on how it what it takes to really get things done. It's I guess beating around the bush, but the best way to say is it shows you how the sausage is made with every aspect, with religion and then religious political relations. It shows you how that sausage is made. Trade, corporatism, authoritarianism. It shows you how that is made, and it's a also a cautionary tale of good intentions. It's got this wide spectrum. So the first telling was in '84, then in I think 2000, early 2000s, 2003, 2004, they did a made for TV on the Sci-Fi Channel, um, made for TV films, and they did a series of them. They did they covered the first book, and they went into the children of the main characters. I can't remember the name, but anyways, the series of stuff. I can put those links on below as well. Is the trailer. That was also good. They didn't have the budget of the previous film. They didn't have the access to celebrity stars like the first one, but I guarantee you, if you watch the television rendition, you'll recognize a series of performers in there, and it's good. And apparently it's more faithful to the source material than the David Lynch one. But there were limitations, and but it's still favored out of the two. So with this new film come out by Warner Brothers, they put a serious amount of money in, and the director, this director, has done a series of films that have explored a lot of questions. So he's a perfect director among few that would be good to direct this film. And I gotta say, his style reminds me of like a hybridization of the way uh, what's his name, Christopher Nolan, his films on how they look when he's storytelling. You mix that with some Stanley Kubrick. You get that together. That's what you get with the new Dune movie just by seeing the trailers, by looking at the cinematography. That you can tell that they're showing more than they're saying. They're not letting the dialogue tell the story. They're letting the camera, the lens, the eye, you as a viewer, kind of like a specter watching this unfold in all directions through like 3D chess. So it's very interesting that when you're telling a story, you got to find one way to be the edge of the blade. And just through the trailer that I'm going to put below, you're going to see that it's going to be the cinematography. The cinematographer that was sitting in the chair with that camera on a crane had he had a vision, or she had a vision on how to tell this story. The director is directing the performance. So that combination, I think, is made just through the trailer a breathtaking take on how to tell this complicated tale. So with the cast that Warner Brother has, it's pretty extensive. It's impressive. You'll see that in the trailer. It'll show you that they did not spare any expense making this film, and it's been shelved since 2019. So with scenes in this film showing the location, the places that they went to, the lengths that they went to make this world feel real, even though it was all filmed here. They make it through this like it is on a different planet. And the thing about the author is that he uses human history to paint his own story. This whole story is based off of real human history, just renamed and repainted. And with a lot of things that's been going on, I gotta say that this is it's like it took this long to be able to tell this story to a point where the audience can go, oh, okay, I get it. Uh, I think it's coming in at the perfect time. Uh, we've One thing I've kind of realized in myself with this topic of geopolitics and corporate international trade and everything else to that nature. As I aged, I realized I knew some things that weren't commonly known at a young age. And since then, it got me intrigued to learn more. And the more I learned about, how countries were developed and who were their allies and who were their enemies, and you're seeing kingdoms and empires rise and fall like popcorn, is that I kind of realized not everyone knows this stuff. And it's not easy to understand. And when you have a layer upon layer upon layer in history of everyone that came before you and what all their dreams and intentions were, you get a mess. And that's kind of what this film is. It is a mess, but it's a beautiful mess, and it's an analogy, it's allegory to human history, and it's so beautifully executed with that cinematography that it's like a moving painting with some dialogue. I highly recommend pursuing watching this film with just with the praise that I've seen from people that have read the book, did interviews with the cast, and just by their response of saying, I did watch it, I did really enjoy it. Like Stephen Colbert gave a pretty heavy praise if you watch an interview with some of the performers from the film on his show. So, and he's a well-read in sci-fi and fantasy. He's a heavyweight in the lore in Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings. He knows a fair amount. He's read it a lot. It's important to him. But he admitted in the interview that as much as he loves Tolkien's work, Dune was his number one. So his praise on that is a pretty good badge. So I know this is a little long. I just wanted to talk about some aspects that I thought were interesting on why it should be viewed. The one thing that I will say is that each character represents a little bit of us in different aspects. Like they're all allegory to what is on Earth. So it's interesting seeing how all these elements are coalescing together, and that's why I say it's like a moving picture. It's like a moving painting, and it touches on things like prophecy and destiny, as well as integrity and honor, and what to do in the here and now. What's more important? Your word, the bottom dollar, policy. These are all explored. And the thing is that this is going to be a two-parter film. It's not going to resolve itself. They're waiting on results to see how well it does before they pull the trigger on starting the second part. I already read that Jason Momoa wants to see a director's cut released as well. So exciting news about this. I hope you go out and check it out, and I want to thank you for dropping by. And you have yourself a good day and stay safe. Bye bye.